that battery?
Oh, yeah.
Close to them.
Yeah.
And the better the angle is at it, if it's not like straight at you or up a little bit, it sounds better. Yeah. No.
Check.
If it's pointing up a little bit.
Check.
But
You can
good.
talk into it and decently hear yourself.
You should be able to hear yourself.
This guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to raise it up, that guy. Probably gonna pull my nose. I decided to drink this coffee in full.
Okay, here we go.
The questions. Oh, never mind.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance Epler.
Lance, no pants.
I thought we decided on Holy Pants.
Oh, Lance, Holy Pants.
Thank you.
Coming at you. Here I am, live in studio. And actually, live.
Live and live.
And
yeah.
live and live if the live stream is actually working. We think
It
it's
should.
working.
I think everything's
Okay.
dialed in this time, so cool.
No pun intended.
Sitting to his left, Mr. Evan Price.
We are all drinking. Really, I'm just going to talk about what I'm drinking because everybody else is boring over here. We got we got our former sponsor Kirkland over with Jake and Lance. Oh no! Jake has a very cool coffee mug over there.
Thank
Have
you, Lance.
What is it? What does it say on
You're
there?
welcome.
It's just a
Have
cycling...
you seen the?
I don't know. Have you seen the Wonder Chainless? It's a bike without a chain, I guess. I don't know.
Gotcha. It's a very
Exhilarating stuff to
classic
those
looking.
listening. Yeah.
It's a very classic looking coffee mug.
It's my new favorite mug.
But more importantly, over here, I'm drinking. This is big news right here. So I was going through Fred Meyer's on Saturday, and we get to the checkout line, and Cassie looks behind me and says, "You're going to need to look behind you right now. You're going to get very excited, so calm down." I turn around and see Coca-Cola now has a coffee drink.
That seems ridiculous.
Oh, it's so amazing. This is the dark blend. Now, I still have the vanilla and the caramel I need to try. They had a no sugar option, so naturally I did not go with the no sugar option because that's ridiculous. But this is pretty good so far. I don't know. I think I like it. Now, how is this different than an energy drink? I have no idea. It's probably the same exact thing.
Probably.
But it kind of tastes like coffee. So.
Awesome. Matt's probably doing breaststrokes or maybe what?
Yeah, he's probably
Matt was overscheduled today.
the free fly.
He's
Yeah.
not able to join us.
Switch people. So instead of Matt, we kind of upgraded. We've got Kevin
Yeah.
Hyland from the Portland Cycling Worlds joining us in studio today. Kevin,
Hey
welcome.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Massive upgrade from Matt. Oh, man.
We'll get into that a little bit more later on. He's going to join us for the whole podcast today, and we will definitely be talking more about the Portland Cycling Worlds. Very excited about that. But before we do so, let's do some backpedaling real quick. Evan,
Oh, me first. Okay.
backpedal, buddy.
Here we go. Basically, my last week is just going to be like training stuff because that's all I'm locked into right now. So I have just been emailing Ironman recently, and I was just asking them like, what is going to be? Do they have any even loose pro schedule going into the spring? Basically, no answer. But I'm putting kind of all my eggs in a early April race basket right now. So I've decided it's like, all right, I got.
You're going to be ramping up for that.
Oh yeah, this is like.
Is it a half Ironman?
Yeah, it's going to be half Ironman no matter what. I don't care if I have to find even like a non-pro race. I'm just going to find a race that first like week or two of April. So yeah, everything's kind of ramping up towards that. I had a really good workout on Saturday. that was basically for, there's at least a bike portion of this, so you guys don't have to fall asleep through the second half of it. But the first half is, I've been trying to do a little bit more sweet spot in the aero position training specifically. So it was, right at kind of race effort for about an hour and 15 minutes total. Jump off, throw run shoes on, and run out to Vancouver Lake with Josh, and we did 4x2 mile continuous, and we're feeling very, very good. We need a race soon,
Nice.
or this is going to be all for naught.
All wasted.
It's going to be very sad if it is all for naught. I am racing by myself in early April on a Vancouver Lake course. I'll just make myself. So that's probably what it'll come
I like the
down
sound
to.
of that. That's good.
But yeah, we'll see. And then that was basically it. What we do else? God, Saturday was beautiful. Saturday was just a beautiful day.
Yes, it was.
It really was. I know. My story's way less interesting because I know Jake and Lance actually did a cool ride that day.
You would have enjoyed that.
You would have enjoyed it.
I
Evan.
would have.
There was a lot of shenanigans.
There
Was there?
A lot of efforts.
I should have just gone out. I know. I'm almost excited to just get through early April so I can just get back to primarily shenanigans in May
Right.
and June. I'm just focusing on shenanigans and the rest of April, May, and June.
Nice. Cool. Lance, what's your backpedal for
Well,
us?
it was a recovery week, so I did 18 hours.
Like you do.
Fully not structured, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I didn't do anything structured this week at all, actually. It really was supposed to be a recovery week, but I still...
Were you in the Tuesday ride? I can't remember.
Yes.
Were you? Okay.
And I rode like 30 miles earlier. Yeah, I rode 30
Yeah.
miles earlier outside, and then I just still did the Tuesday ride.
Which was 40 miles, and it was intense the whole way. There was no
I
letting up
literally
on
only
it.
did 10 miles on Tuesday, so no.
And I actually hung in there even for the hot lap. I was in the mix even in the hot lap, so I
That
was
does not sound like recovery, but
it
okay.
was not recovery. But the rest of my rides were not like recovery still. I still rode way too much. I did have one complete disaster that happened this week. I was just doing a little 20-mile loop, and I flatted on Marine Drive right next to the airport. My front tire flatted, and I'm riding road tubeless, and I realized I flatted because I was all out of sealant. All the sealant had dried up,
Oh, boy.
and so it would not reinflate. And so I tried. I'm like 9 miles from home, 8 miles from home. It wouldn't reinflate. I put in the tube. I realized, I only have one CO2. So I didn't have another CO2 to try to inflate the tube. And then I tracked a guy down who was driving a van that had a back on the it. And I'm like, you've got to have a pump in here. He's like, oh, yeah, here, try this. Well, it turned out I blew the tube. Anyway. So, okay, no big deal.
My God.
Miles from home, I'll just I'll call my wife and have her come pick me up. Well, there was a major accident on one of the bridges over Portland, so both the bridges were completely backed up. So guess who walked 9 miles home?
You had to walk 9 miles?
Kicking rocks.
I think I walked about a mile and a half, and I said, F this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just rode on a flat tire all the
Oh,
way
I just
home.
rode on your rim, basically.
I rode on my rim 8 miles, 7.5 miles,
Oh my
going
gosh.
6 miles an hour, super slow.
A good chunk of that's going uphill. So that played in your favor that it was
It
your
did.
front wheel, correct?
Yep,
Yourself,
correct.
So
yourself
you
in
kind
your
of lean
30s.
back a little bit, yeah.
Yourself in your 30s would have been outrunning you going back home.
Lance 2 years ago probably would have hammered
Would
it
it-
home on the flat tire.
I just would have rode on the flat
Yeah.
tire.
but he's
Yeah.
busted up. How many in the last year? 2?
Yeah. Or in the last 2
He's
weeks,
like, I am not going to buy
Wait,
another front wheel.
I'm not buying another.
Carbon?
Oh, yeah.
You're riding on your rim on carbon.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Lance.
It survived beautifully.
I'm sure it did not.
Anyway, that was the worst thing that happened. The rest of the week, the team ride was fantastic. I rode outside a few times. I did some hills out in Washougal just because I could. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then we had another mini team ride on Saturday because Saturday was it was 36 degrees, but it was beautifully
so
sunny and
nice.
dry.
In the sun, I think it was no lie, probably 15 degrees warmer.
Yeah.
And then in the shade, it was not warm. It was very cold.
And we had 7 people show up for a little ride. We tried to keep it small, and we rode 50 miles. I think I ended up riding 72 that day. But
Yeah.
we weren't going hard except there were about 15 sprints during the ride.
Good old stop ahead
Yeah.
signs.
We
Yep.
kept sprinting for stop ahead signs. So we had a riot. We had a blast on that.
You guys went north of just kind of almost rack route.
Kind of.
Right?
Just another like North County route
Yeah.
that just went through Clark County and just
Up and over Battleground and everything.
we didn't quite go to Battleground, but we were just hitting all the rollers. Nothing big.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
all these little roller climbs. And we
See,
had,
I would not have liked that. But before the camera came on, you go, oh, you guys would have loved the ride. No, I would not have that.
Oh, you saw Nate Scott with us, and he hasn't
that
ridden a
sounds terrible.
whole lot outside, but
I think he said that was the first time he'd ridden his road bike outside in the last 4 months,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
I think
Really?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this man's been building a machine over the last 4 months. And
Oh, and then
Jeez.
some. Just
He
dropping,
is-
1,500 watt bombs.
he
Just
hit
I
like
know.
1,500
Oh my
watts.
gosh, I know. It's amazing. It's more. I mean, like as impressive as that is, I'm just terrified with how long the guy can hold. Like 400 watts is very scary. So
He's
yeah,
strong.
very
It was-
strong.
It was fun to
He's
ride
got
with him.
quads, man. Oh,
Yeah.
he's good on a track bike.
It's good.
just wait until
Just
we
needs to do track cycling, honestly.
Yeah, well, he can pick whatever he wants.
Yeah.
On the road, we need to work on his position just a little bit more, get him a little bit more aerodynamic. But
Yeah.
I'm half tempted not to help him do that because it's just going to make him even faster. So it's ridiculous how fast he already
yeah.
is, and he's grabbing a lot of wind. So
Yeah, he is.
Then yesterday there was it's threatening snow here in the Portland area.
Yeah.
Even though it's not really snowing, but it's really hard to predict snow in the Northwest because
It's just like, I mean, the 10-day forecast is the most depressing looking early
Doesn't
day.
look good.
Just 50% of rain all the way till next Wednesday. Yeah, seriously.
But
Oh.
it was raining all day yesterday, very cold, like 40 degrees and raining. So of course Jake and I went and rode gravel bikes for a couple hours.
that was awesome.
We had a great time, other than we couldn't feel our feet or fingers.
No.
I am such a pansy compared to. If you guys had texted me like, "Hey, let's go for a ride," you're like, "Yeah, okay."
Thankfully, on both my hands, my pointer finger, middle finger were still
Completely.
like cold.
Still
But no,
working.
they were
Yeah.
working, but my ring fingers and pinky fingers
Done.
would not work. You know, you take your hands off the bars and you try and do like the hand pump to get some blood flow back in there.
Yeah.
I couldn't make those two fingers work. I'd, like open it up and it'd be like a pause of like 2 or 3 seconds, and
It's
then
not
slowly
working.
just kind of pull
God.
back open. Yeah, it was fun.
It was just wet and
Yeah.
cold, and it was just me and Jake.
was
Actually,
very wet, yeah.
staying Z2 the whole time. We actually
Yeah, we behaved.
we behaved.
Yeah, I had to yell at you a couple times.
Yes, I needed to be yelled at.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blur. Right.
That's
on.
it for me.
Cool. Hey, Kevin, why don't you backpedal for us?
It's going to be a short conversation, but I had a similar experience yesterday on the bike. I have thrown road tires on an old mountain bike,
Oh yeah.
and I'm preparing to ride an Xterra race.
Yeah.
I've always
yeah.
wanted to do one of those, so I'm
Wait,
Absolutely.
Kevin, do you have triathlon roots?
from a long time ago.
Okay.
Yes,
Which means that he's now replacing Matt officially
sorry
on
to
the
hear that.
podcast. 'Cause now I have some support for somebody who would understand the sport.
no, I haven't done one in 25 years. Ironman Canada was the last
One
one.
such. Oh, nice. Was it in Whistler at that time or Penticton?
Penticton.
Penticton. Okay.
Back in
gotcha.
'96.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did
That race has been
Penticton in
around. Wow.
2005.
Wow.
Yeah. I was
And then I
supposed to
quit.
do it this last year. I did not.
Yeah, so I decided I need to get more mountain bike experience, and unfortunately, there's nothing nearby my house. I live out in the Beaverton area, out
Yeah.
in Southwest Portland. So I threw road tires on an old mountain bike, and I just rode up and down hills in Southwest Portland. I had the chance to go to the highest paved road in Portland,
Oh, wow.
which was nice climbing, had wet snow, but
Yeah.
on the descent, as you guys described earlier, by the time I got home from descending, same thing. I had to look to make sure I was shifting because I couldn't feel the shifters. Right?
Oh God.
It was brutal.
What the highest paved road is that? Council Crest?
It is it's on the other side. It's on off of Skyline, above Skyline
Oh, okay.
Crest, off of Greenleaf, St. Helens,
Okay.
that area.
Okay, I
Okay.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Ooh.
but it was darn cold.
It was cold.
So some snow up there too.
Yeah, it was
little
very
snowy?
wet.
Okay,
very
gotcha.
wet.
Yeah, just slush.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's it. That was my.
that's
Well,
way
that
more
pedal.
exciting than
Yeah,
mine.
he and I were comparing notes yesterday. We were kind of just conversing a little bit, and he was out on a cold, wet one, and as was I. So I definitely understand where he was coming from. My week was just more of the same. It was a lot of Zwifting, but I did.
Twice outside, Saturday and Sunday though, right?
I rode Saturday
Yeah.
and Sunday outside, yeah. And I think it was pretty balanced in terms of the volume that I put in outside. I think I
Yeah.
got 11 and a half hours in last week, which is pretty good for me. And
That's
then,
big. That's big.
well, it's been consistently kind of creeping up a little bit. I was camping out at that 10-hour mark, and I thought I was going to back off a little bit. And no, it's been like more like 11 and a half hours the last couple of weeks. So I think that 16-hour and change week that we had kind of helped me kind of kick it in a little bit more. And just
we need a race, right?
We'll
we
see.
need a race.
But yeah, just fun times out there riding with the team. And the team ride on Tuesday night, Lance kind of alluded to this one a little bit, was a blast. We tried something a little bit different. I'm still kind of mixed on it. It was fun, but in an ideal world, if there was nobody else riding on the Champs, the Paris like little 4 mile crit thing there, that would have been fun. But there was just so many people that it was easy to lose track of everybody in there. But the pace, my God,
you can do race results section on there, and it clears everybody else
so
out.
The problem is we have a lot of people who show up to our group rides on that night that are not a part of the meetup. So if I do, because you can,
I am one of those people actually. Yeah,
because
I'll usually do ride
you
with.
would
not see us. So I leave
dang
that
it,
open because we'll get 30 to 40 people who will RSVP to the group invite, but then we'll always have about 3, 4, 5, 6 people that'll just show up, and I just don't want to exclude those people. So normally it's not a problem. It's just on that particular route, there were so many people doing it that it was just, it was a little bit.
The Champs is usually pretty crowded.
Yeah, but what was fun about it is a lot of times when we get into that little last hot section, or there's like a select group, like we'll start with 30 or 40 people, and that select group will sometimes whittle down to like 3, 4, 5 people. This time there was 10 people there?
I think there was at least 8 that stuck together the whole last hot lap. Yeah.
And there was a couple people too that even like strong people, if you got disconnected from that, you're not putting it up there. Because we're holding a pretty solid pace.
Yeah.
So those people would just start riding, and then all of a sudden, because it's 4 miles, the group would come back around and lap them, but they could jump back on and at least stay with us. So that was happening as well.
That's actually pretty good then. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a blast. That was a good workout. I think I ended up getting like 45 miles out of that, which that's fake miles. But
as we talked about, if you take your entire average at the end of the year and most of it was Zwift, chop 1,000 miles off of it, and that's what you actually did. So
here's where it is.
That's a nice little 10% inflation there. But I still got in 2 hours there, which was good. It's a fun little ride. And then this past weekend was fun doing the whole like stops. I think, God, I can't tell you how much I missed riding with my friends. It's fun going out with like, Lance or Sean Martin and be another one. But
like your real friends, like not like Lance.
He's sick of riding with me. I'm too predictable.
So anyhow, it was just it was a blast. And then riding with Lance outside was a blast yesterday too, despite the fact that we were Chilly Willy and Muddy Buddy. So.
We were freezing.
Yeah. Right on. So it was just a fun week. So
Champ Bailey,
hey,
top 5.
I think he's already in here.
Discussion. I mean, I'm not just going to go out crazy
Hall
and
of
say
Famer?
top 3.
I don't know.
I
think we need a new intro.
This is
I don't think
becoming
he's top 5 anymore.
This is becoming more relevant because the Super Bowl is 2 weeks away now, right?
2 weeks away. Champ Bailey in the house.
Hey, Champ Bailey, who picking in the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
I am.
Most importantly,
it's either Tampa Bay or Kansas City.
Yeah.
If the quarterback from Kansas City, if Patrick Mahomes, if he gets even more healthy, it's their game. They're gonna win.
Don't bet against Tom. You cannot bet against.
How many
Tom
times
Brady.
you sacked Tom in your day, Champ?
That's a great stat. Has he ever
question.
sacked Tom Brady? I mean, he probably played him a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's like 67 years old now.
Yeah, I think so.
He's 43.
I will not. As much as I dislike that, I will never bet again. Like if you're like, oh, who's going to win, Tom Brady or somebody else? Be like Tom Brady. I don't know. He'd
10
be 62.
times.
I'll still pick him.
10 times he has been to the Super Bowl. 10 times Tom Brady has been to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So many times.
And the first time ever, the home team the home team is actually hosting the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay.
Oh, really? I did
and
not know
Tampa
that.
Bay is in the Super Bowl. It's the first time it's ever happened. So
I'm glad Tom got there with this team too, because now, I mean, Belichick is amazing, but like anybody who had that last argument of like, oh, I think it's mostly Belichick, not Tom. Like, oh, really? Are you sure? Because he's like 50 right now,
Right.
and
And
he
here
made
we
it
go.
back to the Super Bowl with a completely different roster.
he's 43, Evan.
43. Yeah. He's not that far away from you, Lance.
He's not that far out.
You want to know
You
something
two went to
funny?
school together, basically.
You rewind about 6, maybe 7 years, and you ask me how many games did I watch during the course of a week, and I say, oh, I watched them all.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't miss a single
Yeah.
game. Ask me how many minutes I've watched this year.
10.
0.
I think
I
I've
haven't
watched
seen a
15
single minute of NFL football.
You're not missing a
I used
thing.
to be in multiple fantasy football leagues. I could tell you every single person that started on every single roster. I mean, Lance is still doing the whole fantasy
I
football
still
thing.
have a fantasy football league, so I did watch a few games because of that.
Yeah.
These
And that's
days,
a riot.
I would
It's-
rather watch a rerun of a Tour de France stage in the 90s than watch one NFL game on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's my fault
Anyway.
for going off the rails here.
Okay,
Anyway.
Champ Bailey. There was bike racing that happened this week. There was a cyclocross race, a UCI cyclocross race in Overgize. I'm sure I butchered that. It's somewhere.
you nailed it. Yeah.
You can smell it.
Yeah.
So there was a cyclocross
Wrong button.
race.
It's a little dog and pony show going off the rails already.
The most interesting thing about this race is Wout van Aert beat Matthew Van Der Poel.
Yep.
Really?
He did, but
Good for him.
But Van Der Poel flatted. So,
Yeah.
so
Womp, womp, womp.
he flatted, lost about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Worked really hard to catch back up. Didn't quite catch back up to Wout, and then he exploded because he worked so hard
Yeah.
to try to catch back up. So Wout won the race. Wout ended up winning the World Cup, the Cyclocross World Cup overall as well. So that's exciting. On the women's side, Alvarado, the defending world champion, she also won this race. She hasn't won many UCI races this year because Lucinda Brand has just been dominating. But Lucinda Brand has the bigger engine, and Alvarado has the better skills. So this one was a little bit more skill-centric race, and Alvarado ended up pulling it out. The best news from the women's race was our own Clara Honsinger ended up taking fourth in that race and ended up fourth overall for the World Cup. So
A podium at Worlds would be so awesome.
That would be-
God, that would be amazing.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So the World Championships are this next Saturday and Sunday, I think. Anyway, there's next weekend. They are in Ostend, Belgium.
Austin, Texas? I'm
No,
joking.
Ostende. I whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
I've
Close.
said that wrong too. So so that's kind of exciting. The World Championships coming up. However, there is some talk that it might get canceled.
Oh, please, God, no.
Because there's been a bit of a
Spike in Belgium.
spike in Belgium.
Can they just move it to Tuesday? Can they just do it tomorrow then?
And so,
Just do it tomorrow, don't it?
so there's some. They're not sure exactly what's going to happen. They're hoping
Yeah.
it hasn't been canceled yet, but there's rumblings that it might be. So
Just take away the fans. Just keep
Yeah.
it just them. Yeah.
In other racing news, Tom Dumoulin of Jumbo Visma, he was at training camp this week, and after a long discussion with the team owners, people, he decided to take a step back, and he is stepping away from cycling for an undetermined amount of time.
How do we feel about this, guys? I'm kind of. I
This
got,
is
I
a
got
big-
mixed emotions.
This
there.
is basically the lead out news from the week. This is huge because Ineos, so I was over the weekend looking at Ineos's roster right now. They look terrifyingly strong across from classics to GC if everybody shows up.
They
and
looked
is
strong
fit.
last year, and they blew chunks. So
Yeah, but it's that roster has another year together, and they got some. I mean, they've got some incredible strength on that team.
True.
Jumbo losing Tom is huge. That's big.
he did a lot of work
Really big.
in the Tour de France last
Yeah.
year. He helped the team out a lot, but his heart is not in it,
Yeah.
clearly. And
How old is Tom? 33.
30? No, he's like close to 30, isn't he?
Is he?
I think he's like right on 30, if I'm
Is
not
he?
mistaken.
Okay.
I'd have to double check that.
He's been a GC contender for quite a few. I mean, for a few years now, 5, 6, 7 years now. Tom's probably been. You know, I mean, I'm not sure if he's ever been a. Can I remember a year where he was a Tour threat? Not. I mean, he's always been a Giro Vuelta threat, Giro specifically. But yeah, I don't know.
he's 30.
30. There you
There
go.
you go,
Jake
yeah.
nailed it. Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that, Kevin?
Well, hey, look at the last season and how often everyone had to train on their own, and then the back end of the season was so packed.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
riding a lot. It was really intense, and he's possibly burned out. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I can understand that, but he's kind of been playing the same tune for
Yeah.
a couple of years now. I mean, ever since he was it the chain ring that went into his knee and he got pretty injured?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's since then he's just been kind of like a little bit off in terms of like his motivation and his desire. But I mean, he's still strong as all get out.
Yeah. He's always struck me as just in interviews, and obviously none of us have met the guy, but at least in interviews, he never seemed to be, you know, when you see the interviews with, God, who's a great example, like Carapaz, you watch an interview with him, you're like, this guy loves to ride bikes. Like, just loves to ride bikes. Same thing with like Alaphilippe. You watch Alaphilippe in an interview, you're like, this guy could do, he'll be, if he could, he'd race till he's 60, I'm sure. Tom never struck me as somebody who super enjoyed that,
Well,
like that process.
Has he been going full gas since he was 15, probably?
Yeah.
He's from Belgium.
Wildly talented.
Yep.
Grew up in the country where he's the guy.
Right.
And that's, yeah.
I could imagine if you never were really, if it was just what you were really good at and not what you were really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, because he's 30. That's a long time. I mean, let's say he's been
doing it for 15
doing
years.
it for 15 years at the very top level. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I hope
So-
he recovers soon because I'm sure this last year's been tough on him. I'm sure.
Well, the question will remain, will he actually come back?
I don't think once you leave that, he may come back, but once you leave that top level like that, I'm not sure if he's just going to be able to flip the switch and come back and be a GC
Exactly.
contender. Like that's,
Well, I think his GC contender days are probably done.
there's a young,
but
core
he's-
coming through GC wise that he would need to be.
Well,
in
if he's
some
on Jumbo
amazing shape.
Visma, he's not going to be the
No,
GC guy.
absolutely not. Yeah.
But he still has some potential in the hood. I mean, he's coming off of an injury. He's got a little bit of like emotional stuff that he needs to kind of work through.
Probably.
Yeah.
And he's still got a few years. He's still in that window. He's still in that sweet spot. Yes,
Yeah.
there are the likes of these young guns who are coming up.
Yeah.
I think he just needs to find a little bit of mental health,
Yeah.
and he needs to be fully recovered. And I think he needs, like Kevin alluded to, I mean, he's probably burnt out.
Yeah.
I've had times where like I've done a fraction of the racing that he's done, and just from the training in life and all that other stuff, like, dude, I'm burned out. I don't want to think about racing. I just want to go
Yeah.
ride my bike and fall back in love with it again. So I mean,
Yeah.
I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I just think it'd be tough for him to flip that switch back on. But I mean, bottom line, if this is the last we see of Tom Dumoulin, I still think he goes down as one of the better GC contenders of this era. I mean, probably a top 8 GC contender
Okay.
of his era.
So real quick,
Yeah.
wipe everything in your mind right now about Tom Dumoulin and
Yeah.
pretend like I brought his name up for the very first time.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that pops in your head with him?
With Tom,
Yeah.
time trialist.
Like a moment, more of a moment, not like
More of a moment.
When-
Yeah.
Mine is that he like bailed on a time trial because he threw a fit because he didn't like the bike he was riding.
That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking about this with somebody over the weekend, and what
Uh-huh.
their comment was pretty funny. What's
Yeah.
your first comment?
I mean, I would just stick with probably that he was a great time trialist.
Yeah.
But there's more negative things I would think about with Tom than positive,
Gotcha.
honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
I don't really have one, but I want to go back. I totally agree. You never saw the passion in his eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to say he was robotic like Yvonne Lendl in tennis, but you just didn't see a lot of
That's a
passion
good
and energy.
that's actually a really
Yeah, yeah.
good comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
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 good.
very close. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The
Yeah.
person that I'm not going to bring their name up, but they mentioned the whole melee or the mishap of having to stop and use the restroom. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
My
Sure,
God.
right?
No,
And they caught it
absolutely.
on, and there
Yeah.
was a live camera on him.
Yeah.
I'm actually more impressed with that because honestly, the man, like, I mean, that's got to be the fastest number 2 in the
He
history of
like
cycling.
ran to a tree. And
He didn't even run to a tree. It was a sign. It was a sign
Oh,
right there. It was
yeah.
literally, I mean, it was the fastest number 2 in the history of endurance sports. Unless he had just stayed on the bike and done it.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about
He
that.
put
Sorry to
every-
bring that up.
I conveniently forgot about that,
Yeah.
Jake.
There you go.
Yep. Was he wearing white shorts that day?
I don't know. Let's move on.
Champ Bailey out.
Thank you, champ. Thank you. We don't really have any Patreon updates. Just wanted to say thank you again to all of our Patreons. They are fantastic. We will be doing another drawing next week. We've got some more of those Sierra Nevada bottles. We've got a pair of
Thank
those
you,
Sierra
Carlos.
Nevada bottles from Sierra Nevada Pale Ale or whatever they go by.
Yeah.
And they give us some
Brewing company.
They,
Yeah.
they give some little red, blinky, flashy red lights for
I
the
know.
back of the bike. So we'll
that's
toss
cool.
in
I also
one
got
of
a
those as
couple
well.
T-shirts from too. I had a polo that I really want to wear in the clinic, but I'm not sure if that's good. So I'll be wearing the polo around though.
Maybe we should. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Bring them on as like a full-fledged sponsor. Then
There you
we'll
go.
just put it on our shirts, and then they have to.
There you
There
go.
you go.
I like that. Yeah. Then we can wear Sierra Nevada polos before races. I like
Cool.
that.
But just thanks to all of our patrons. You're a big reason why we are live streaming right now on the YouTubes, and we greatly
Hopefully.
appreciate your help in that little, I don't know, plight. And
Yeah.
we do have some people watching right now, which is kind of cool. If those people who are watching want to chime in and ask us any questions or post any comments, we
Yeah.
will do our best to respond to those on air. So
I'd love to hear a really passionate Tom Dumoulin fan on here just say that we're all just terrible for saying anything about him.
all right, let's move on to our topic for the day. The reason why we all came in here, we've all been kind of excited about this. Kevin Hyland
Very.
with the Portland Cycling Worlds. How in the world are you pulling this off? It seems like you're starting to get some traction. What is it that's going on? Where are we at? What's the likelihood? I mean, got so many questions.
Yeah.
So many
I've
questions.
got like 100 questions. I know. Mostly just excitement. Like,
Why don't you just give us a little bit of a background and then kind of get us caught up to where we're at today?
All right. So this idea was first hatched over 2 years ago. I was riding with a couple of buddies, one of whom is Dutch. And, yep.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, I've ridden all over Western U.S. and all over Europe, and this is a beautiful place that we get to live in and that we get to ride in. I'm surprised we don't have an international bike race here. And we said kind of like, yeah, that's nice. Then we were riding a Gran Fondo in Cuneo, Italy, if you guys have been there. And I thought, oh, this is a beautiful setting and a beautiful environment. These guys do a fantastic job of supporting this great race. And I thought we should hold a Gran Fondo in Portland. And I think we were home for a couple of weeks, and they had a replay of the Bergen, Norway World Championships from 2017?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's when it hit me. Hey, we need to host the World Championships here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, of course, at that time, I thought it was a single race because that was the only one that was really broadcast on
Right.
TV at that time. And I've learned that there are 11 races over the course of 9 days, and it's going to cost millions of dollars to put it on. But each day I learn more about the opportunity as well as the challenges, and I still am very excited and believe that we have the know-how, the resources, and the passion, certainly a passion for cycling here in the greater Portland area, to pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where it all came about and what we've been planning on doing.
That's awesome. I just that's such an undertaking, and I'm all for like taking on big goals, but that's just like I don't know.
I'm already like planning my like get up. I kind of want to do the German Devil thing a little bit, but just go Speedo style for it. Like somehow combine the guy who ran with the American flag with Lance with the German Devil, and I'll just hang out by, around wherever I need to hang out.
You've already got a theme song too, so yeah.
There you go. That's
That'd work.
perfect. Yeah.
Now, this is a family event, so no speedo.
Oh, okay, fine. It'll just be underneath then. Yeah, that's good.
So in an ideal world, there's a lot of hoops that you got to jump through, but when are you aiming for? When would be the ideal year for you to have this done, and what obstacles are still standing in your way?
Well, had we spoken a year ago, I would have said that we were bidding for 2026.
Okay.
But because of COVID and other unforeseen circumstances, we are now bidding for 2029.
Okay.
All of the races have been awarded through 24. The UCI wants to go to Africa in 25. 26 would probably go to Aigle, which was supposed to host the races this year in Switzerland, and they were postponed. 27 is going to be like Glasgow. It's a 13 different disciplines of cycling, from BMX to cross and mountain biking. So they said, you guys are not eligible for that. You don't have the infrastructure. You've never held a race this big. And they said, would you like 28? And I said, no. It would be 75 days after the LA Olympics.
A little fatigue there,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I won't be able to get the spectators and the fans I need from out of state.
Yep.
And I may not be able to get sponsors who have money. They will have spent all their money on LA.
Olympics, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
we've told the UCI and USA Cycling that we want 29.
That's a nice lead-in.
Now, what's our competition look like? Do you have an idea?
I don't. I feel pretty strongly that there is no one from the U.S. and maybe even not even North America involved in pursuing this for the next foreseeable years. And then you always have to assume that it's going to be a Flanders or an Italy or France or the Netherlands that are always interested from a European perspective, right? But I've had great conversations with the UCI and USA Cycling, and we feel that I'm led to believe that they have an interest in coming here.
We have a pretty good show. Well, because hopefully then 28 would just be somewhere in Europe. So maybe UCI's a little fatigued from being in Europe, and then shoot over there like, yeah, that's enough of Europe, and we'll come, somewhere else.
Yeah. Plus, they want to grow the sport in Asia.
Yeah.
We have greater proximity to Asia than
PDX
Europe.
helps us out a lot there too. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we're pretty excited about the opportunity.
Awesome.
So you're not sure what other cities we're up against.
Nope.
And they don't really share that information with you, or eventually that stuff comes out.
It won't come out until the roughly the finalists are announced, which could happen 6 months before the decision is even made.
Okay.
So
that gives us some time to disparage those other cities. Only 6 month window.
Yeah, it's a very tight window.
You think the chances are actually pretty good?
I think if we can line up our financing, we don't have to have the money in hand, but we have to have at least lined up the commitments for the financing, and we get a letter of intent from our mayor, I feel pretty good about it.
So I've got a question that's coming to us live from from the YouTube from a listener, Brian Floyd. He wants to know how receptive the city of Portland is to the idea of hosting an international bike race.
Well, that's been the million-dollar question. I have tried on 2 different occasions to meet with Mayor Wheeler, and through all sorts of circumstances, I won't go into the details, have not been able to meet with him face-to-face. I can tell you that his chief of staff in the last meeting that she and I had, which was a year ago, she said, hey, this is consistent with the mayor's vision for the city, and he loves the idea of this event coming here, right?
We like that.
He seems to have been busy. This
Yeah,
a little preoccupied.
year. It's been a hard year for
Is
Portland.
he? Do you have any insight? Does he ride bikes? Is he a cycling fan at all?
He's an Iron Man.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What? Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
we've got
He's
him
done
right there.
triathlon?
Yeah, he did
Oh my
Canada.
gosh.
Oh
Would you
my
want me to come
gosh.
to the meeting with you? I can just talk triathlon with him. We can just, and then just say, hey, bike race. There you go.
Well, okay, so here's another question. It's probably unlikely that he'll be the mayor in 2028.
That's a good point, yeah, 2029.
There's
Yeah,
zero
no
chance
point.
he'll be the
Yeah.
mayor in 2028 when those decisions need to be made, or 2027. So I guess it depends on the favor of the mayor at that point.
Exactly, because we're not asking for and I got to get my political terms here, we're not asking for a referendum, or I forget the other terms. There's nothing to prevent the next administration from tearing this piece of paper
Yeah.
up and saying, no, we don't want to do it.
Yeah. But it will depend on the city's administration,
Correct.
and that you have support from them to be able to pull something like this off.
Without their support, I can't do it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because the 3 biggest costs associated with this event, obviously the UCI fee, which is about $8 million.
Okay.
And then when you get down to the city level, when you get down to the city level, it's, if you look at Richmond, which hosted the Worlds in
Yeah.
2015,
Yeah.
number 1 expense, road repair.
They had
Gotcha.
to fix roads that the courses were going to be on.
Correct. And that's not even considered a direct expense. It's an indirect expense because you owe it to your citizens, right?
Yeah.
And those road repairs are going to last for 10 plus years, right?
Yeah.
Then security. And security has only become bigger and more complex and more expensive. So those will be the 3 biggest areas of expense. And, involving PBOT with road shutdowns and the police security we're going to need and things like
Yeah.
that, it's going to be a big undertaking.
It's a big thing. Yeah.
But I think just like we were talking about right before this, and this is nothing disparaging to Richmond, but I don't, and please, if there's anybody who is from Richmond who's like, no, we are a cycling-centric, massive fan base here, correct me. But, I even compared to the Midwest cities I grew up around, this is a huge cycling fan base out in Portland. So if Richmond can put this together, I've never been in a city outside of maybe Boulder where there's a bigger cycling fan base. And Boulder's just there because, that's where a lot of the pros go train. But cycling fan base in Portland, tough to beat. I really can't think of another place in America that you could put above, Portland as just cycling fans.
Yeah, you look at all the statistics, whether it's from subscription rates by Bicycling Magazine or Velo News, or you look at Tour de France viewership in all the different cities across the country. The Pacific Northwest is a hotbed for cycling, right?
Yeah.
So when I project to people that we're going to have a minimum of 30,000 out-of-state visitors and 225,000 people lining the course for the men's and women's road races, some people go, where? There's not that many people that ever show up for this. And I said,
Yeah, they would.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
They would.
And cycling fans love food. We're a foodie city.
And beer.
How else do you sell that? Yeah, beer and food. That's what.
Portland's kind of a hipster city. Now, I do realize I
Kind
have
of-
a
kind of a
hipster
hipster.
mustache.
There we go,
Yes, you do.
But
I do
this
as
is
well.
not because I'm a hipster. This mustache is purely for comedy. That's it. I don't have
So
any
if this
hipster
race is here in
me.
2029, we need an aggressive mustache growing over 2028. We need it to be fully presentable to the
Fully
world
presentable.
by the time
That would actually be pretty good to challenge everybody. Can you get the
we're going to get on UCI TV, I promise you. If this
Yeah.
is going to
you got the Movember, and everybody starts asking people, why are you growing a mustache? And it's to raise money for cancer research for men's prostate, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe we do something like the Lance.
I'd be all
and it
for
just
this.
becomes like an
We're
automatic
growing-
subcultural
100%
talking
do
point.
this.
Yeah. Why are you growing that mustache? Oh, Portland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Prepare for 2029.
So, all right. So, where do you stand right now? What are you working on? What's the latest and greatest?
So we are in the process of our economics impact study should be completed in the next week or two.
Oh, wow.
And if all goes according to plan, we expect it to be somewhere north of $100 million, and well beyond that, we hope. And as soon as we have
That would be the impact of to the community of bringing the event here.
correct. That would be direct, indirect, and induced economic impact for the 4 years leading up to and including the races.
Got it.
Right, because you start working on marketing and putting people
Yeah.
to work years in advance of this, right? So once we have that study finished, we're going to call. That's when we want to. That triggers everything else. So we want to talk to the mayor and each of the city commissioners and ask for their support.
I see.
And if we get that, then we're going to be going to Travel Oregon and applying for a competitive large grant to help fund this event.
Gotcha.
And even if we get that, we're still on the hook for another $10 or $12 million in sponsorships that we need to raise over the course of the next couple of years.
Okay.
Okay.
But do or die is we have to have the mayor's support.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've got a pretty long list of people that have already kind of given you that nod, that like, hey, I like this. I'm in on this. Why don't you kind of, at the risk of telling you to name drop, why don't you tell us some people that have gotten on board? You've given me a whole list of elected officials and business leaders and celebrities and organizations and people in the race community. Who's on board with this? Who's getting behind you?
It would be a shorter list to say who's not on board based
Wow.
on the people I've spoken to. I think, and really it's interesting to see the momentum we've got over the last 6-8 weeks, because a lot of people are saying that we need this economically for the city.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's going to help our image and enhance our reputation, because right now I think the brand, Portland, the brand is a little tarnished.
It's not so good right now.
No, which is unfortunate. It's
Yep.
as we were talking about earlier.
It's one of the
it's
most beautiful cities in the world.
It's a beautiful city, and unfortunately, the only thing that people are hearing outside of our city is all the bad things that are happening. Right?
Yeah.
But I've been basically trying to, just like a political candidate would, I'm going out and enlisting the support of civic-minded businesses, business leaders, community leaders, elected officials to say, hey, here's all the things that we are working on. Here's what this can do for the city and state. Here's more about the event, answering their questions. Would you be a supporter of ours? And if need be, would you give us a letter of endorsement? So when you look at that list of probably 250 different people or companies or organizations on
It's
the website.
huge.
Yeah. Those people have agreed to the statement that, hey, this sounds like a tremendous opportunity for the city and state and deserves at least some due diligence by the city and state. And it's a heck of a list.
And this is like I'm sure you already know, and we can just tell you're passionate just from talking here. But if you get in that room, I mean, it's sealed. I'd like this is exciting stuff. I mean, this is really. I think you could even convince somebody who's probably their cycling experience would be like, oh, that one Texas guy over there who was on Oprah, right? Like, you could probably convince that guy, like, hey, this would be pretty cool for this area. This really would.
Well, in the first couple of years when I was talking to people about this, they go, well, yeah, we're not associated with bike racing. It's like, this is bigger than a bike
It
race.
is.
Yeah.
Much bigger, right?
People love the Olympics, and most people don't curl. But everybody turns on curling.
Yes, you're
once
gonna
every
watch
4 years,
curling.
and you're going to watch curling like your life depends on it.
Right.
Yeah, so the obvious ones are when you can get an Axel Merckx to jump on board, or Amber Neben, or Chris Horner, or Jacob Rathy, right? Those are the ones whose name and attention is well known to cyclists, right? But then when you start talking to other people and you say, well, yeah, I've got Mark Edelin of one of the largest commercial firms in the city and state. We have law firms, Stoll Reeves, I think is the single largest law firm in the city, Hoffman Construction, largest privately owned company in the state, Umpqua Bank, and on and on and on. Now we're getting a lot of momentum, right? So then we sit down the mayor. It's not about four guys sitting at a table
Who
thinking,
like bike
hey, this would
racing.
be
Yeah,
really
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tremendously impactful for the city and state, and so much good can come out of it.
This is where we start stalking Strava to see what CEOs in the area ride bicycles. And then you go and just find their route and run into them accidentally, quote unquote.
That's a great idea.
There you go. Yeah.
I just filled a job role.
There you go. Fellas, do you have any other questions for Kevin?
Go ahead, Lance. I got like 50.
I got one question, and this may be an odd question, but like with the International Olympic Committee, there seems to, in order to get the Olympics, traditionally you've had to do big favors for the under the table in the international, to the IOC in order to get that. Does stuff like that happen with the UCI, or am I like totally asking a question I shouldn't be asking?
No,
Lance is going to be dead next week.
Yeah. He's going to find a horse head in his bed.
Yeah.
I've heard the rumors that it's happened in the past, just like it has with FIFA and the World Cup and the Olympics and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've heard the same rumors, and honestly, we haven't ever even thought about developing a scenario that should that present itself to us, how would we deal with it?
Good.
Because we would prefer not to. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something we're
Yeah.
just going to say no. If that's the price or the game you have to play, we're not interested.
Yeah.
And
Not
I
at
feel
all.
like in the heyday of, well, my hope is in the heyday of social media that hopefully stuff like that gets calmed down a little bit because, you know, then I mean, like it was less easily shared, I think, in some
Right.
of the stories that we hear from.
Right.
I remember hearing one story about, well, it was FIFA when FIFA was, what was the Middle Eastern city that they were going to in Qatar? I forgot,
Yeah.
but that was the big story that I remember. But that's, you know, I hope that stuff like that is, once it's brought to light and aware, that hopefully, you know, that starts to calm down a little bit, but who knows?
Okay, my next question. Let's forget that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Lance did not ask
They're,
that question.
they're going to get easier, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What kind of routes are you looking
Yeah,
at?
that was mine. That was mine.
I mean,
Yep.
All right, that,
okay,
did-
how much
that took longer than
And
I
most
expected.
most
I was
importantly,
trying to be kind. That's
As-
what I really wanted to know was where's the race is going to happen.
as we were talking about, is what KOMs are now going to be untouchable.
just
That's all
say,
Lance cares
wait a
about.
second.
Stay out of Vancouver and Camas.
Exactly. Yeah, you better not make the time trial at Vancouver Lake because I'm going to be really sad if that's the case.
All right, so there are road races and time trials.
Time trials, two types.
11 different races in total, right? Some people will ride both the time trial and the road race, depending on their classification, what their chances are, right? So without revealing too much, we would love to keep all the time trials within the city limits of Portland,
Okay.
on the east side of the river.
Yep.
So the east side is oftentimes neglected for all types of these activities, right? So, and you've also got some long, straight avenues that we could ride on. We got some beautiful neighborhoods we could go through over there. So we like the idea of holding time trials over on that side of town.
We stay away from that area because the traffic is usually difficult enough
Yep.
that you don't mess with it. But with an event like this, you get to shut down traffic.
Roads are shut
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is not going to make a lot of the neighborhood associations very happy,
Nope.
knowing that they're going to be closed for hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
right? But we like the idea of holding the time trials on that side. And then all of our races, whether they're time trials or road races, we prefer to have finish on NATO Parkway.
Right
So we
on
can-
the waterfront downtown Portland.
And remember, 30-40% of the coverage, the TV coverage, is done from the air.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So you got a beautiful waterfront.
Yes.
And, and you could have your Oregon Wine Expo.
You get to
your
see the
beer
bridges
expos.
on the big overheads.
It
Yeah.
looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then getting
love
back
it.
to the races. So, and then the 5 road races. So there are elite women and junior women, as well as men's elite U23 and juniors. We would love to start the Grand Depart out in Multnomah Falls for the women.
oh, wow.
Ah, okay.
And if you've watched the road races in the Tour de France or the Worlds, you'll know that they are like the Tour de France final stage. Start out in the country and come in and do a circuit.
And do multiple circuits of whatever once you get back into the city area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in Paris, it's I think it's less than a 5K, so it's really tight. So we're looking at something to expose hundreds of thousands of people. We're looking at about 10 to 12 to maybe even 13-mile circuit in downtown Portland.
Yeah.
So the exact routes are still to be determined, but obviously you got to include Vista and the climb up there. So this could become our version of Alpe d'Huez, right?
From Multnomah Falls up to Vista House.
So it's exactly start at Multnomah Falls,
Yep.
go straight up to Vista
Yep.
House. How you come in is probably Halsey is probably better than Gleason, but we've got alternates to go Marine Drive. We've got a lot of different
Sure.
options to go. And then you come into the city and do that circuit, depending on if you're a male elite or a junior woman, you're going to be doing it 4 to 8 times
Sure.
on that circuit.
And you're thinking the circuit would be part of downtown Portland. Would it go up into the West Hills?
Sure.
Yeah, and back down.
So imagine
A lot of
climbing.
spiky climbs.
Yeah, so imagine climbing Vista and you've got the Dutch corner there, like on Alpe d'Huez, right?
Right.
Or you could have, heck, who knows, University of Oregon. You could have the French group. And if you look at our website, some of our supporters are the societies of many of these, call them cultural societies. So the German-American Society, the Dutch Society, the French Society, and Italians, right? So we want to bring those people out and cheer on the racers from their
Yeah.
ancestral homelands, which could be a really cool, fun international
That would
environment
be
that we would
nice.
create.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just an international event. That is such a cool idea. That's really, really awesome. I'm trying. So Do you have an idea? Now as you know, Worlds usually for the men elite and the women elite, very long races.
Mm-hmm.
You would say like with a circuit like that, I mean the men would probably be repeating it 8 to 10 times you said through that circuit.
Yeah, we want to probably the elite men would probably do it close to 8 times. The
Yeah.
final 100K has to be on the circuit. That's what the UCI requires.
Yeah.
But we want to start, and Yamhill County Commissioner or Commission Chair Kula is a supporter, and he wants the races to start out in Yamhill County or
Yamhill?
McMinnville.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
climb
You
Albertson,
climb, yeah, right.
got to stretch the peloton out a little bit right away.
Yeah.
Descend down into Hillsborough, and Mayor Callaway is a supporter of ours, and then work our way probably up into North Plains and start heading towards the city. And which road we choose to get up to Skyline is still TBD.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
5 different ways you can go up to Skyline.
Exactly. Then
Yeah.
you bomb into the city and pick up that circuit.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it could be
very cool.
beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
do like the Multnomah Falls idea, though. I mean, that's
With
like
that-
an icon of.
Yeah.
The Vista
Oregon.
House. I can't stop thinking
know.
about the Vista House. I'm like, I need to be there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
need this race to be next year, not 2029.
I know.
Dang it.
Hey, that's okay because by then we'll all be like really slow and just fans of cycling anyway. So we'll just ride our little cruisers right up there. Probably I'll be on an e-bike by that
E-bike,
point.
uh-huh.
And I'll just,
Awesome. Evan, what are your questions?
So my question was actually going to be roughly what type of let's say your dream course happens. Let's say like what the best course in your mind happens. Who would be in today's pro peloton be the favored type of rider for that race?
Wow. Great question, right? So one of the words of advice that both Axel Merckx gave us and Chris Horner is create equal opportunities for the sprinters and the climbers.
Yeah.
We are so far from Europe that if you make it just a killer like an Innsbruck was, the sprinters, the Peter Sagans or the next
Oh, yeah.
Peter Sagan won't show up.
Innsbruck was a pure climbers race.
Yeah.
Pure climbers.
And out of respect for the rainbow jersey, I think he did finish. But we want to make sure. And then he said, if it's too flat, none of the climbers will show up.
yeah.
So you have to really look at your course carefully to make sure that you're going to get all the best riders in the world at that time to show up, and they all feel like they have an equal opportunity to win this race. But in today's world, who that could be? Alaphilippe.
I was gonna say. I mean, like on any type of mixed course, it's like an Alaphilippe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably not enough sustained climbs there to like a Woot's gonna get dropped. So somebody like a Wout van Aert would be very, in the field. Yeah.
It's not going to be a killer. I mean, the climbing will add up over time, but there's not killer climbs
Yeah.
there, with the exception
Yeah.
of Albertson, but that's over early enough that things will be fine.
Yeah.
Everything's spiky otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is
Gotcha.
Whew.
So what are some things that you want to cover, Kevin? What are some other things that we need to get out there to the world? How can we help you, I guess?
So the biggest thing that I could use help with is we started a petition. So if you look at the website, you're going to see what we consider our VIP supporters, right? It's roughly almost 250 big names that are going to get the attention of the decision makers in City Hall and in Salem, right?
You could put Lance Hepler, not a hipster, on that list if
Is
you
that
want.
is that Lance Epler, Esquire?
That's right.
But we've also started a petition called, we were referring to as Bring the Worlds to Portland. And we would love to have at least 10,000 signatures on that petition to take to the mayor and the city councils. And I think we're kind of stuck somewhere between 700,000 or 800,000.
This is just sign our petition, which is
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Because that
Everybody listening
you
to this
want
right now,
how
just
many
literally
people
go
on
sign
that?
this petition right now.
we want to get another 2,000 to 3,000 signatures on there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we're right around 7,500, somewhere in that
Okay.
ballpark. Yeah, so some lessons learned, right? So Eugene is hosting the World Track and Field Championships. That was done top down, right? I mean, it was pushed through. I got to be careful what I say here, but it was driven top down by corporate heads of state here in the state. No one ever bothered to ask, everyday Oregonians if they wanted to support this kind of event. Portland Diamond Project has done just the opposite. I mean, they've got a grassroots effort going. They've got like 40,000 signatures on their petition to demonstrate to city officials and state officials that, hey, we want to see Major League Baseball come to this city, right? We're doing it both ways. We want to have those big names, the big VIPs that'll get the attention of big decision makers, but also show that there's a tremendous groundswell of support of everyday people living in the greater Portland metro and the rest of the state.
Gotcha.
So sign the petition, please.
Okay, so
I just did.
Thank you.
If I needed to go sign the petition, where do I go?
Go to pdxcyclingworlds.com and You don't have to make a donation. We could always use those, but nothing. There's no obligations to sign the petition. We just want names.
And if you're a patient of mine, it is going to be on the back of my computer. So if you need to look at it at any point.
So pdxcyclingworlds.com. Go there, sign the petition, do your part, help out. You don't even have to live here in the Portland area, correct?
No,
I mean,
that's correct.
Anybody.
I hope all the people from Ohio listening to this too, if you need a place to stay in 2029, me and Cassie will be opening up our house to anybody who wants to come and watch this World Championship.
the price.
Everybody from Ohio, please come out and watch this.
You know what's kind of nuts, Kevin? The last time I checked, there were people in 34 countries who listened to this podcast.
Awesome.
Which blows my mind. So what if they're abroad? Can they sign the petition as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's like a little country option on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's a funny story. I was looking at I don't look at the petition that much, just look at the bottom line. And one day I saw a name on there that looked somewhat familiar to me. That was Bill Walton.
Really?
Oh, cool.
Bill Walton signed our
The
petition.
center from UCLA.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So do you think I pounced on that? I sent him an email and said, here's what we're doing. I know you're a big cyclist. You still
Bill Walton's a big cyclist?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
So is Reggie Miller.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Barry
What
Bonds is another one.
What
Yeah.
frame size does Bill Walton ride?
As big as they make.
you
Custom
seen
made.
Purely custom.
Reggie Miller's
I
moots that
see.
he
I
rides?
see Reggie all the time.
That thing is
yeah.
ginormous. But
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
carry on.
So I sent Bill an email and said, hey, here's what we're doing. We'd love to have you as a supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And asking for his name on there also. And he replied back immediately and said, hey, this sounds like a tremendous event. He said, I've got a lot of things going on right now. And he put me in touch with another gentleman in San Diego. I don't know that he's an agent, maybe just a good friend. We
Sure.
had a great conversation. He goes, feel free to use Bill's name.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Okay, that's cool.
Good on you, Bill Walton.
Can we reach out to I'm trying to think of like big American sport. You got Reggie Miller, Bo Jackson now rides
Yeah.
pretty
He did a
consistently.
Swift
Bo
ride.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
LeBron-
I was ride with Bo. Yeah.
That's crazy.
LeBron James has a big fundraising.
Yeah, because he used to
Yeah.
ride his bike to practice in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh-huh.
But we've also got Galen Rupp, who's an Olympian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
He's on the
Yep.
list as a supporter.
Yep.
Joey Harrington,
Former U of O
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yep.
Heisman Trophy
I
winner.
mean, really just
runner-up. Yep.
the
Runner-up,
whole
sorry.
the whole Bowerman Track Club too. When you're guys like Craig Angles, in the endurance world, at
Right.
least big names. Yeah.
Gwen
Yeah.
Jorgensen.
Gwen. Yeah.
She's a supporter. Yeah.
Awesome.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
man.
your crush right there.
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
early podcast, it was like she came up
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
every single podcast. And we could have made a drinking
And
game around it.
gold medalist from America, in the triathlon. Not that comments.
There you go. Awesome. All right. So what else you got going on? What are we looking at going forward here? What's the next year looking like? Where can we help out?
This is our do or die year. I mean, if we don't get the mayor's approval and we don't get support from Travel Oregon and the state legislature, we're done. We there's so many things that have to occur this year if we want to be considered for 29. So the biggest thing is really just names on the petition. We always welcome donations. We're going to start some fundraising activities. So Mike Kolbach, an attorney in town, was kind enough to donate his lightly used Pinarello cross bike to us. A Prestige, I believe, is the model.
Wow.
We're going to start selling T-shirts and caps and other soft goods to raise money. And because we're going to, with our letter of intent, which has to be submitted in the next 6-8 months, we need to have at least $30,000 for that.
Gotcha.
Which shouldn't be that tough to raise. But just keep an eye out for all the fundraising activities we're going to have underway. And
What about on social media? Is that another way that people can help connect and show you a little bit of love and support you?
yes, so we have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay.
And again, with live links to sign the petition. And if you could get your friends and colleagues by sharing those messages that we've been posting, get your friends, your followers, your colleagues, clients, get them to sign that petition. That'd be awesome also.
The petition will help you with your conversation with the mayor.
Correct.
And
nothing more than that.
Nothing more than that. It doesn't help with the UCI. It mostly helps with the mayor. This is what kind of support we've got. Okay.
Yep. But it's important to show that, again, it's not you got to make sure that it comes across as, hey, this is well supported by the community, plus the international community, right? So you mentioned the number of countries where you have followers for your podcast,
Yeah,
right?
it blows my mind.
In a typical year, Cycle Oregon gets people from 4 to 6 different countries.
Wow.
every year, year in and year out, and from over 20 states. So the Pacific Northwest, Oregon is a cycling destination, right?
Yeah.
So having those people sign the petition shows that at least there's an inkling of interest in coming to these events.
Sure.
And that will show very positively to, again, the decision makers and the people who are going to be asking for money from the state to say, there's a good chance we can get these people here and leave their money here in our hotels and our restaurants and things like that.
I don't know how this couldn't be a good thing for the community. I mean, it's not like you're building Olympic venues that never get used again.
Yeah.
You're improving roads that will help everything afterwards.
And bringing in a lot of people that will, like you said, leave their money here. That's, I mean, without having to build, like you said, without having to build ice skating rinks.
Right.
Right. No
Luckily,
infrastructure.
a bike race gets to happen on the roads.
Yeah. And I'm again trying not to get ahead of myself, but I think I mentioned that we're projecting 30,000 out-of-state visitors, right?
Yeah.
So to kind of put things in perspective for you, it's estimated there are about 12.5 million what they call avid cyclists in the western U.S. and Canada. Those are people who ride at least 25 times a year, right? And in their heyday, the tours of California, Colorado Classic or U.S. Pro Challenge, and the tour of Utah had 3 million spectators.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And 25,000 unique individuals show up at Sea Otter every year.
Right.
Surely
Yes.
we can get 30,000 out-of-state visitors here.
And plus, COVID will be over by then, right?
No.
Hopefully. Let's hope
Maybe,
so.
maybe
I'm open
fingers
to
crossed.
2029, maybe. We'll see. Yeah.
You're going to get like 1 million visitors, not 30,000, I would think.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, and I mean, you look at southwestern Canada also has a pretty big cycling community right around there. I mean, that's right over the border and counts as international too. So
yeah.
Well, in California, huge. Many cyclists in California, and you can drive here.
Right, exactly.
California.
And just think about who are the strongest social media presence right now in cycling? You look at a guy like Phil Guyman, you look at Legion. Those guys
Both in
are
California.
They're both a drive. I mean, long drive, but definitely a quick shot over to PDX away from here. And that's a team like Legion or a guy like Phil Guyman would get 100% behind. They'd be ecstatic about this being somewhere they could drive to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've spoken to both of those individuals, and Justin and I had some great conversations going back and forth.
That is so cool.
And then he kind of just dropped off, but after I reading all of his social media, he's building a team, right? So he's a little preoccupied.
Yeah, he's pretty busy right now.
And Phil and I exchanged a couple of emails also, and he's supportive of me, but I wish I could get him involved somehow.
Yeah.
Come on, Phil. Phil just needs to get over with his little Everest attempt and then go on. Yeah.
And if it fails one more time, we'll just call him out on it.
I
Right?
know, yeah, exactly. We'll start making fun of him.
What kind of support are you getting from USA Cycling? And then there's also, like, locally, you've got WSBA and OBRA as well. What kind of support are you getting from them? Because just USAC alone should be like, 100% behind you. Here's our entire mailing list. I haven't seen anything come through them, but you would think that would be good for them to get that big of a bike race here. Are you getting any kind of connection there?
Yeah, so my main contact, there's a gentleman named Chuck Hodge, who is the VP of Operations and Events. And he and I have had a number of very good conversations. I'm sure he's kind of getting tired of me after 2 years. Last time we met was in Steilacoom and had a great conversation with him up there. And I am, and then when it comes to OBRA, so Saul Lopez is on our team, on our organizing committee, and he's on the board at OBRA. And we've been given some good support. So OBRA sent out an email blast to many of their email. I don't know how many thousands of people are on their emailing list. And they put out a couple social media posts for us. So they've been very helpful and supportive.
Good.
We could always use more of their support, more of their members, 3,400 members or something like that, signing the petition as well as their family members and friends. And then I speak with Rob DeMartini tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Okay,
who
great.
is the CEO of USA Cycling.
Okay, fantastic.
So he posted a story on LinkedIn. He posted a story that was written by me or about me and our project from a gentleman in New York. And Rob posted on LinkedIn. And I immediately started getting calls and emails from people reaching out to me. And we've had a really good response and conversations with other people. So to date, I would say they've been helpful. And when I talked to Rob, that's what I'm going to ask him is like, how do I get more of your support?
Yeah.
I need to have louder support and many more signatures on the petition from your members, because that'll help convince, again, the decision makers in Salem and Portland City Hall that if we build it, they will come.
Yeah. I've seen stuff come through from like Oprah. I've seen emails come through from you. I don't see a lot of visuals in any of that. Is there anything that we could do there just to kind of like say, hey, you've heard of Portland, you've got this idea, and especially over the last year of everything that's been going on in Portland, not necessarily the greatest thing, but showing like the Vista House, showing coming from Multnomah Falls, showing some of like where it could be, and just giving people that idea of like visualizing what it is and how beautiful the Pacific Northwest is and how beautiful the Portland area is, and get people excited about it that way. Like I can't imagine any cyclist who loves riding their bike that hasn't been to this area not wanting to come here to see that.
Right.
That is such a spectacular thing. And if it were something that I were seeing, I'm like, oh, I want to go there now to start riding bikes and really get excited about that. And then I'm going to want to support that because I want to see the world stage here racing. What can we do to help you there?
So we had grandiose plans for social media and putting out a lot of imagery and putting out posts twice a week. And we're a volunteer organization.
Oh, 100% understand where you're coming from right now.
and everyday life seems to get in the way. So for all you listeners out there, if you know of someone that would like to be a part of this amazing project and you have expertise in social media, we need help. Because, Jake, you're absolutely right. We need greater, more consistency, greater imagery, and consistent messaging out there to keep people engaged and with the project and the things we're trying to do here.
What about engaging people to kind of help out and maybe coming up with like a hashtag movement behind the movement, and having people start saying like hashtag PDX Worlds or whatever you want to call it, and like showing like a little video clip of people riding up there just to kind of help out from that perspective. I know I'm getting kind of out in the weeds here, but you got my brain turning, and like this is the stuff that like I salivate after. I really would love to see something happen there, and I wish I had the time to say, I'd love to volunteer and help you with it. But
I'm currently
how long
just
did it
like,
take me to get back to you about this?
I'm just like copy and pasting this petition to like the last 40 people I've texted, just so you know. There's somebody I just texted who I don't even think has seen a bike race in their life. I was just like, just sign this petition right now.
So you're absolutely right. I spoke to one business leader 6 months ago, and we had the same conversation. He goes, I can do this for you. I can film this. I'll put it to music. I can do it all, whatever.
Yeah.
Just never materialized, right?
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. We would love to be able to show off the options for cycling here, right? Whether it's showing the commuters to the racers to the gravel riders, mountain bikers. There's such diversity to the riding around here, both geographically and in the disciplines, and show off the beauty of the city and state. But unfortunately, we don't have. We've been unable to find someone to take that over for us.
Huh. My wheels are turning. I'll get back to you to see what I can do to come up with something for you. But that's I think that's something that could help you out quite a bit. So
yep.
Cool. Why don't you tell us about you? How long you been riding? What you've been doing? What's your background? You mentioned a little bit something about triathlon.
Well. That's mostly what I'm interested in.
You finally gave up that bad habit. You're sticking to that one good discipline now. Tell us a little bit more about your background. What makes you so passionate about cycling?
Well, a lot of people go, well, what? And this is one of the points I should have mentioned earlier. A lot of people said, well, what's your experience as a race director? I've never been a race director. I've never raced my bicycle. I've done triathlons, right? But I've never been in a bike race. So before I answer your question, as I told this gentleman that just asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I said, we're not going to try and pull this off ourselves. So we've received very detailed RFPs from ASO, which everyone is probably familiar with. They run the Tour de France, Paris-Roubaix, and recently the Tour of California. And we're also talking to Medalist Sports, which was the very first race director or operations company for the Tour of California. They run the Tour of Utah. They ran the Tour of Alberta, and they today run the Colorado Classic, and they ran the Richmond Worlds.
Great. So
two very reputable firms for race operations. They will run everything between the guardrails for us.
Okay.
Right? So don't worry about some knucklehead in Beaverton, Oregon trying to pull this off himself. Not going to happen. Now, where's the second part of the question? Oh, where my background?
Yeah, tell us about your credentials, I guess, as a cyclist, or maybe not even credentials. Just your background. Like, what got you into cycling? Why you've obviously still got the bug. You're trying to pull off some monumental task.
Yeah. So I when I was going to junior college in San Diego, a long time ago, I ended up riding my bike to and from school all the time, and I thought this is a lot of fun, right? And when I moved back to Oregon, I just enjoyed bike riding. So I used to go out in the country, and this is pre-helmet day, so explain some of the Dane damage. But I have just loved riding my bike for so many years, and I've been lucky enough that I you guys are going to laugh, but 25 years ago I bought a bike Friday, and I worked for Nike for 25 years all over the world. And I would take that bike with me. It's been to Taiwan, Australia, Korea, Japan, all over the U.S., all over Western Europe. I just enjoy riding that bike, right? Now, I also have a real bike, too, not just a circus bike. But I've just always enjoyed riding my bike. And, again, I don't feel that I have to have been a racer to appreciate what happens in a bike race
Sure.
and what's necessary to pull something like this off. And then in my professional life, I've been in the sporting goods industry for 35 plus years. I worked at Nike. I've worked briefly with Adidas and Smith Optics and Gatorade and Converse. So,
Wow.
And headed up, organizations that have produced hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think I know what my strengths and my shortcomings might be. And that's why we're trying to build a really strong team to pull this off.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Who is on your team? You've got to have, it's got to be more than just you and like Sal helping you out with a little bit of things here and there, but who's on your team? What have you put together? You got a little rock star squad of folks that are helping you out?
So we've got about, honestly, close to 50 people who said, I want to be a part of this, and they may show up and they may do little bits and pieces, but probably the core team is about 8 of us that are doing most of the work.
Sure.
The funny parts are, so in addition to Saul, who's originally from Guatemala, right?
Uh-huh.
Our finance guy's from Denmark. The guy that's in charge of courses and I get to call Axel Merckx, and they speak Dutch together. He's from the Netherlands.
Okay.
Who am I missing here? A gentleman named Doug Dugway, who used to race a long time ago. Giovanni Cafiso moved here from New York about a year ago. And I'm apologizing to the others that I may have forgotten on this. So Mark Mackler, an attorney, talent, and triathlete.
Yeah.
He's on our board. A friend of mine from Nike, Matt Stone, a former naval officer. So it's a very diverse group in terms of our backgrounds, our countries of origin in this case. We've got a gentleman from Ethiopia on the team. Kendra Wenzel is on the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a big group.
That is awesome, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, man. This is really cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Anything else you want to cover? Anything else that we may have let slip through the cracks here that you need to get out to the world, that they need to know about, that will make this thing happen?
I don't think so. I think your group's going to understand what this thing can do for the city and state. And again,
the city, state, and country.
Well, yeah. And it's a real opportunity. Unlike if you pulled an ordinary person off the streets here in Vancouver or in Portland, and you said, "Hey, did you hear about the riders from Ineos or DeCunic or Alpecin or Movistar coming to Portland?" They go, "What?"
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
for these 2 weeks of every year, those racers put on their national team kits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And this is an opportunity for people. And keep in mind, in the greater Portland metro area, there are over 100 languages spoken at home.
Wow.
So this is a cool opportunity for those people to come out and cheer on the racers.
Yeah.
The people that look like them, that sound like them, they can cheer on the racers from their ancestral
Yeah.
homelands.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes a really cool
And
cultural.
what was the last big international sporting event in Portland?
No clue.
I've only lived here 5 years, so I have no idea. I'm not a Portland
indoor
historian.
track and field world championships were held here in Portland.
Gotcha. How many years ago was that? Do you know?
3,
March of 16.
4.
Oh,
5.
wow. I
5
did
years.
not even know that.
5
to
years
be
ago.
completely
If you
honest.
think about
Wow.
it from a worldwide perspective, though, who's going to have more eyeballs on their event?
Oh, definitely
yeah.
site. I mean,
Uh-huh.
definitely not indoor. Well, and it's indoor. You know,
It's
if it's,
indoor
if it's
track and
Eugene outdoor, it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a lot of eyes. But no, this is much more, way more eyes.
Yeah, I mean, just got to pitch this as like it's like the Tour de France of like, it's kind of like the Olympics and the Tour de France coming together, and it's cycling, and that's how you have to kind of pitch to people and get them excited about that. And what's more is that think about the last 10 or 11 months. You know how many new people are out riding bikes right now? I can't even begin to tell you. It's like the cycling industry is upside down because they have no product, because so many new people are riding bikes right now. It's such a great opportunity for us to seize that moment and say, hey, that bike that you're like slowly falling in love with, check this out.
Right.
Look at this racing thing that these guys are doing, and just try and go out and climb a hill, but then go and look and see how these guys are doing. Or try and do a sprint and see how these guys are doing. And these are like the athletes of all athletes, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's a phenomenal sport to get into, and this is the biggest stage. And guess what? It might be coming to your backyard.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yep.
Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So again, we have a huge opportunity here to share that. And if you're listening to this and it's something that you've been thinking about, first and foremost, go sign the petition.
Yeah,
but tell
please.
some people
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Guess what, guys? There might be the biggest cycling event,
in the world.
In the world. I mean, would you
on,
say that this is
on
bigger
a
than
one-day
the
basis?
TDF?
Well, on a one-day basis,
basis.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the question: is do you say like is Paris-Roubaix bigger? When you're talking about a movable event, this is as big as it gets in cycling.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the Olympics in every 4 years. I would say more people probably get excited about the World Championship each year than they do just about the Olympic road race. In the cycling world,
in the cycling world.
cycling world,
Yeah, 100%.
specifically.
Yeah, 100% there.
Yeah. This is the race I look forward to every single year because
Yeah.
it's always a ridiculously hard course.
Yeah.
Best in the world going at it.
Yep.
It's usually a fair course where like anybody can win, so it's always an exciting race.
Yeah, but it's not just the best men in the world; it's the best women in the world,
Best
it's the best
women,
juniors
best
in the world,
juniors,
and
U23s,
There's all the
yeah.
different disciplines that we're talking about here. It's fantastic.
Love it.
It is.
Fantastic.
It is.
All right, boys. Any other questions for Kevin before we move on?
I just hope that we can help you. I
Yeah.
would love to get more people to sign that petition.
Great. Thank
So-
you. Hey, this has been a big help. This has been. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Absolutely.
Thanks
And
to
if
all three
there's-
of our listeners out there. Hopefully they've gone out and signed it.
as we get closer to 2029, obviously this time we would need to have you back on in however many years,
All
as
right.
long as we're all still doing this.
I've got one last question before we move into one last thing. What are the odds of you pulling this off?
Ah,
If you were a betting man,
Be an optimistic betting man, please.
yeah. I feel that we've got a compelling case.
yeah,
I feel that we're going to provide the state with a great ROI
Uh-huh.
if they invest in us. Honestly, everything hinges on that meeting with the mayor.
uh-huh.
I mean,
can't-
if we don't get his support, we're done.
I can't wrap my head around this having a downside. Is there a downside?
Yeah, what's the biggest downside from this?
So, did you watch Yorkshire?
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and you saw the
It poured
rains
rain.
of biblical
Yes.
proportion.
Yeah.
right?
Yes, so everybody's crashing during the time trial. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those people that may see, you refer to your 10-day forecast earlier,
Yeah.
right? So for those out-of-state people that are thinking about coming, if they
Yeah.
see rain of biblical proportion happening while they're thinking about it being in Portland, that's going to hurt us, without
so,
a doubt.
So I just looked at the 10-day forecast. It looks like beautiful and 65. and I looked at the 9-year forecast.
Yeah, with climate
It's the
change, we're
same.
going to be the.
It's so weird. Yeah.
We're going to be the new San Diego,
It's
72
gonna
degrees year round.
only be sunny
Green,
here
yeah.
for the next 10 years. That's so weird.
So 2 years ago, I literally took a picture of Andy Carson on KPTV 12,
Sure.
right, showing the 10-day or the 7-day forecast for the last week in September, because that's when the races always occur.
Sure.
Right? Beautiful. The Pacific Northwest in late September is a
Oh, it's great.
gorgeous place.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
it's
to be,
absolutely
right?
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
You
is.
start to get a little bit of that foliage starting to maybe change, but the temperatures aren't high. It's just like
Yes.
that. It's perfect. That's my hands
it-
down favorite month.
And
to
we
ride.
definitely don't
Yeah.
have Yorkshire rain because that's like that Midwest rain in America where it's like driving, flooding rain.
Knocks
I
you off
say
your
that
bike,
we had
yeah.
issues a little bit a week ago, but this is September. I'd be shocked in September we had anything like that.
Yeah.
Knocking on wood.
Yeah. but honestly, other than the freakish things like another pandemic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just honestly, it's the weather. I think would be the biggest obstacle. I hope it's nothing more than just the weather.
But it's not like we're hosting this in April.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, even if weather came through in September, it's usually a here
It'd be
today,
just-
gone tomorrow
yeah,
kind
it
of thing.
would just
It's not like
drizzle
it's-
rain.
yeah,
It'd be that
exactly.
drizzle
It's just
rain.
like it's Pacific Northwest. Oh, it's tomorrow's nice. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's. I don't think that's going to be an issue. As a matter of fact, my only gripe with that being in September would be like everybody watching it and saying, "I need to move there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That place looks beautiful. Oh
This
my
is
gosh,
true.
the gorge is
This is
gorgeous,
true.
and downtown Portland. Oh, that's spectacular. I need to move there.
Yeah.
So, you can watch, but you can't come here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Leave your
closed-
money here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They closed the door
Yeah.
when I moved.
Yeah.
All right, gents, let's jump into one last thing. Lance, start us off.
Just a shout out to my wife. It is her birthday this weekend.
Nice.
Happy birthday, Brandy.
I cannot reveal how old she's turning because she might murder me in my sleep. So
32, I think?
something like that.
Yeah.
And it was also my middle daughter's 24th birthday
Yep.
this last weekend. So happy birthday to my family. I missed them.
Cool. Man. Bryce.
I've basically got nothing for the one last thing. That was just awesome. So we're just going to leave it at that. Is please sign the petition. That's my last thing.
Sign the
There you go,
petition.
sign
Awesome.
the petition.
All right, Kevin, it's your last chance to spout off. One last thing for you.
It's all about the petition. Honestly, I think that's going to have a tremendous. It could really sway the mayor and the governor and the state legislature to show that hey, there's a lot of support for this.
Yeah. You guys thought about setting up a Patreon? Do you know what that is?
No.
We'll talk more about that. Okay.
Yeah.
That might be another way for you guys to get some support. And my one last thing is I need to figure out how to find a few minutes to maybe help them out somehow, some way every week. I'm so upside down with time here. It's kind of nuts, but I'm really passionate and enthusiastic
Even
about
if it
everything
was
I heard
as
here today.
simple as just us just putting one like social media post
Yeah.
up a week where it's like sign this petition,
Yeah.
sign this petition. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
absolutely.
so much here. So that'll be my one last thing as well. Is go sign the petition and let's come up with a hashtag so that people can start putting stuff out there. There's a ton of active people here locally that are out there riding all the time
Yeah.
that can take pictures and spotlight all of these great places. Maybe there can even be like a little bit of a
We literally
competition
have
of
photo.
like,
Well, I mean, we have photo competitions in Vancouver, like
Yeah.
what monthly almost, isn't
Yeah.
it? Jay,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you would know. Yeah, it's just from that alone.
But yeah, just having people hashtag that just to kind of
Yeah.
get that hashtag out there and moving and grooving on the socials would be pretty fun and
Yeah.
really just to show people like this is something that could actually happen here.
Yeah.
Make it happen, folks.
I'll make it my goal over the next 8 years to learn social media enough to where I can figure out how to do a hashtag. I mean, my goal.
Awesome. All right. Well, as always, we thank everybody for listening. Kevin, I especially thank you for taking the time to come up here. I know you're a busy man, and you've got a lot of stuff going on, and hopefully this helps you get a couple signatures. That'll be fantastic. And anything that we can do moving forward, if you ever want to come back on in the future, too, to talk a little bit more about stuff that's going on, if there's things that we can poke and prod and help you with your initiatives, just say the word.
Okay. Thank you.
Love it.
To all of our listeners, though, thank you again for listening. We will catch you next week on another Dialed podcast. Till then, bye for now.
That is awesome, dude. That's so exciting. So exciting.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know my dad's been a big cycling fan his whole life, and me and my little brother are always set for his 70th birthday here coming up in not too. Trying to get over the Tour de France. Since 2020, I was like, should be the Tour de France. You're just gonna come to Portland. We're just gonna watch this race. Yeah.
Have you ever been there before?
No, I never. And it's still.
That reminds me a little bit. They didn't go to the tour. It reminds me a little bit of what the compasses. They all pulled together and they surprised the dad. Was that for his 60th? Something like that.
Yeah.
And they put together money. They flew him over to France and they did a whole cycling tour thing. They
They did like pontoon. They did out the west. They did, yeah.
It was funny too because they're all wearing the Dallas kit. The entire, like all of the brothers and the dad were wearing kits.
Yeah,
They have like a huge the podium thing out the west. That you can stand on, and they're all standing up there. People were like honking at them.